Hi guys, I'm Miss Emily and I'm a children's librarian at the Asheboro Public Library. Welcome back to our Creative Writing Corner, and today we're going to be talking about writing scripts. One thing you might start doing in your classes soon, if you haven't already, is reading different plays. Reading plays is a lot different than reading books because plays tend to have more dialogue, which is speaking, and stage direction to tell you what is going on with the actors on stage. Because scripts are meant to be seen and heard, acted out on stage, they don't provide as much description as you might get in a book. This is because the props and costumes and staging itself are kind of meant to give us that background, that description, and the setting that we would normally get through like a paragraph or two of description in a book. In addition to this, when you're watching a play, just like when you're watching a movie or a TV show, you're getting the emotions and mood of the scene from the character who is acting it out. You can get that from their tone of voice and from their facial expressions, while in a book, we kind of have to read descriptive words to understand how a character is feeling or what's going on in that scene. This is really important too, because when you think about it, there may be one actor who plays a character at one time and another actor who plays that character maybe a few years later. And how they read the script out loud, how they read their lines, may differ from one another. So one may use a tone of voice that is really sad, while another one may use a tone of voice that makes you think they're hopeful, maybe even a little happy. So a lot of times plays and other types of scripts rely on the actors to add their own sort of emotion to what's already going on and interpret it as they see fit. These different acting choices are obviously also going to affect how the audience is interpreting it. It's one thing if we read a play, but how an actor chooses to portray their character can completely differ from how we thought it was going when we were reading the script. So, as we're talking about different scripts, plays, TV shows, movies, even some YouTube videos, Instagram sketches, TikTok videos, a lot of those are scripted. And to help you kind of start thinking about what goes into both writing a script and reading a script, I wanted to go over a few literary devices with you that are commonly found in scripts, especially in plays. The first literary device I wanted to tell you about is a monologue. A monologue is like a long speech by one character. There can be different types of monologues, dramatic ones, funny ones, but generally a monologue is going to be a big block of text where one character is speaking and the other characters around are listening. The next literary device I wanted to talk to you about is a lot like a monologue, and it is called a soliloquy. Just like a monologue, it's usually a pretty big block of text, but instead of that character speaking to the other characters on stage and giving this grand speech, normally what we're seeing in a soliloquy is the thoughts of that character. So we can usually assume the other actors on the stage aren't able to hear what this character is saying, because this character is just saying out loud his thoughts. Because what a soliloquy is the character's thoughts being spoken aloud, not for the benefit of the other people on stage, not so that they know what that character is thinking, but so that you, the audience, knows what that character is thinking. So this is a way for a character to tell us how they're thinking and what they're feeling, something that we might normally get in the paragraphs of a book, but that don't translate really well to scripts. So this technique, a soliloquy, is kind of used to fill in the blanks and let us know specifically what that character is thinking instead of just guessing, because it might be something that that character wouldn't normally say. Maybe that character has a secret and he doesn't want those other characters to know, but he does want us, the audience, to know. So the person writing that script will say, hey, let's use a soliloquy, and they'll give that character a soliloquy for that character to tell the audience what is going on inside their head. The next device I want to talk to you about is an aside. An aside is a lot like a soliloquy, but it's really short, maybe just a line or two. In a play, an aside might be demonstrated by a character looking to the audience to state a few things that he's thinking. A lot of times this is a great way to add a bit of humor in. Think of a TV show or a movie where one of the characters turns towards the camera and speaks directly to you and whoever else is watching. That's kind of like an aside, because they're not talking to the other people on camera, they're speaking directly to you, the audience. Another literary device that is really common in scripts is the use of alliteration and assonance. We've talked a little bit about these before in different creative writing videos, but let's go over them once again just so you kind of know what they are and we can discuss how they relate to scripts. So alliteration is the repetition of a consonant sound at the beginnings of words. An example of alliteration would be, the gracious girls and guys gave great advice. So the sound that keeps repeating over that sentence is the g sound made by the G at the beginning of several of those words. Similar to alliteration, assonance is the repetition of vowel sounds. And these vowel sounds don't have to be at the beginning of words. They can be anywhere across the sentence. An example of assonance could be the sentence, clap your hands and stamp your feet. In that sentence, the repetitive sound is ah, made by the A in the words stamp and clap and hands. Alliteration and assonance are used a lot in script writing because, as we talked about before, scripts are meant to be read aloud and acted out. So when you hear a sound repeated, you start paying more attention. And so an author can use that, or you can use that when writing your scripts to draw attention to a certain part of text or a certain part of speech. Next, I wanted to talk a little bit about repetition. I know we've talked about it in past creative writing corners as well, and I'm sure you guys know what repetition is by now. It's just the repeating of a word or a sentence or a phrase over the course of whatever story or type of creative writing project you're working on. In plays, this can be really useful because it's like a little hint to the audience to let them know what is important and what they have to listen for. Maybe you hear something one time, that's not a repeat, so you don't think about it too much. Then in the next act of a play or a few minutes later in the TV show or movie, you hear it said again. Well, that's interesting, but maybe it's a coincidence. And then a little later, you hear it said a third time, and you start to realize this means something, and it's important to the story that's being told. So repetition is a great way to kind of give little hints to your audience what's going to be important to the story and sort of get their brains turning with where this is going and why that repeated word, phrase, or sentence is important. Lastly, I wanted to talk about foreshadowing, which is one of my favorite literary devices. Foreshadowing is another type of hinting at something. One way you can foreshadow something is by using repetition. So foreshadowing is when you are hinting at something and kind of saying, this is what's gonna happen, but it doesn't seem significant now. And the reason foreshadowing is one of my favorite literary devices is because you always feel excited when you've guessed something that was hinted at, or when you're thrown for a complete loop. There's no going wrong with foreshadowing. Remember, these literary devices are not limited to just play scripts. Movies, TV shows, and commercials are all scripted. In addition to that, many videos on YouTube, comedy sketches on Instagram, or even videos on TikTok are scripted. Hey, even this video you're watching right now, it's scripted. Just like writing books, writing scripts is a job that some people do. They're the ones that write all the awesome stuff that then gets turned into action-packed movies or really funny TV shows. And oftentimes on big movies and TV shows, there'll be more than one person writing a script. Several people will work together to write the script. The really fun thing about writing your own scripts is that once you're done, you get to decide if you want to act it out or if other people will act it out and then you get to see what you wrote come to life. You could even write a little play for your family or your friends to act out together. It's a great way to have fun with each other. You can go through your closet to see what kind of clothes would make really good costumes, and you can even film it and send it to your family that lives far away. You could even script a cool video or a presentation for one of your classes. If you do write a cool script or even act one out, and you feel like sharing, you can go ahead and email us that script or video at ashboroughchildrensroom@gmail.com. We at the library would love to see your awesome creative skills. Now let's go ahead and pull out our writing prompt for the month. No peeking as usual. Ooh, cool. So this one says, if you could invent a robot of any type who could do anything you could imagine, what types of things would you have the robot do? That's an interesting one. I'd love to see your guys' response to that. Just as a reminder, at the Asheboro Public Library, we also have creative writing journals for you to pick up. You can go ahead, call the Children's Room at 336-318-6804 to schedule your curbside pickup. It comes with this nifty brown journal that you can decorate however you please, and a super cool creative writing corner sticker to show that you are a creative writer. Now, the last thing to do before we say goodbye is put our ornament on our poet tree. And here is our ornament for script writing. I went ahead and chose an image that has a pencil that's clearly writing, and up here we have a video logo that indicates that this might be something that you film. So let's go ahead and pop this on our tree. And there we go. Thank you guys for joining me for another creative writing corner. I hope you guys have a great month and have fun writing. Bye guys!